All right, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. I've got a couple of interesting stories for you guys today. The first story that I've got for you guys today, a strength-related story. Julius Maddox just hit a new all-time PR on the bench press, extremely close to that much-anticipated and much-talked-about 800-pound bench press. Julius has been on the journey to be the first man ever to bench press 800 pounds raw. He's attempted it a couple of times now, but up until this point, it has eluded him. But this was a 796 bench press, 4 pounds away from his goal of 800 pounds. Now, to be fair, this was a gym lift. It's unofficial. It wasn't done in competition. It looked like he struggled a bit with it, especially in that lockout. It looked like his butt might have came up off the bench a little bit during that end phase of the lift. So make no mistake, I definitely think that had this been done in a competition, this would not have been counted as a good lift or a new world record, especially when they're doing world records. They tend to be a little bit stricter on things like that. But he does say in the caption that he missed this weight at least 10 times. So 10 times he's tried 796 and failed, and this was the first time, I guess, that he got it. And it seems like spring and summer in powerlifting seem to be like world record season. That's when Hafthor broke the 501 kg deadlift world record, or set it at 501 kgs. And now that we're getting back into these warm spring and summer months, we're seeing Julius bench really heavy, hit a new all-time PR. We saw a guy a couple weeks ago deadlift 502.5 kgs in the gym, kilos, for everybody that hates when I say kgs. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Which record do you think we will see officially fall first? The bench press world record or the deadlift world record? And do you think it will be Julius that breaks his own bench press world record, or do you think it will be somebody else? And who do you think, if anybody, is going to be the one to break the 501 kilo deadlift world record? Let me know in the comments down below. Now, next up in the news, let's talk bodybuilding. As you guys probably know by now, we're just days away from the 2022 Indy Pro, which will be this weekend on Saturday, May 14th. And there will be a pay-per-view. It's only going to be $9.99 if you guys want to watch the Indy Pro, so make sure you check that out. Well, they posted their official competitor list on Instagram. You have Blessing Awodabu, Slavoj Bednar, Max Charles apparently is doing this show. So I knew he was, I'm pretty sure he's also doing New York Pro, but it looks like he's doing both shows, so he's going to jump into Indy Pro. Ross Flanagan, a.k.a. Ross Flanagan Gaines on Instagram. Ron Gordon, Charles Griffin, Dorian Haywood, Peter Clancier, Matt Kuba, Walter Martin, Eslam Muhammad, Diego Nunez, Justin Rodriguez, Ray Short, and Brent Swanson. Those will be your men's open bodybuilding competitors. So let's talk about some of those competitors that we're going to be seeing this weekend, starting off with Justin Rodriguez. So Justin just sent me this morning. This most muscular, he said, changes start today. You will soon see. This is slightly different. He just posted a most muscular on his actual page, but this one that he sent me is slightly different than that one that he posted. So I think this one is actually more recent. I think the other one was taken yesterday, and the one that he sent me was taken today. So obviously it's peak week. This is time for Justin to really dry out. We saw, right before the Arnold Classic, we saw some crazy peak week pictures of Justin right before that show. And just, I think it was like the Friday before was the day that he looked really crazy that morning before prejudging that night. So Justin, I think, is the favorite to win based on the fact that he is the returning defending champion based on his track record at his past 2 shows. And then, of course, based on the fact that he still has a lot of time to tighten up, he's definitely a guy that in those last couple days of peak week, you do see a pretty drastic transformation with his physique. You guys might have noticed, during the course of this prep, Justin kind of looked the same from week to week. And that's partially to do with the fact that he was already in shape from the previous 2 shows that weren't that long ago. But I think what you're going to see over the next couple days from Justin is significantly sharper, significantly tighter, significantly drier pictures as we get closer and closer to Saturday. So Justin, to me, I think is still the favorite to win this show, and he's probably going to be my pick to win at this point. Now, another guy that I think is going to do really well here and probably be a top 3 contender is Charles Griffin. So Charles Griffin is a guy we've talked a lot about. His updates have been pretty insane. But specifically, this update that he posted today really caught my attention. I'm sure you guys can guess why. Hitting a vacuum pose again. He's posted several updates over his prep, hitting the vacuum pose. It's kind of crazy because he's a men's open bodybuilder, and he's not a small men's open bodybuilder. He's a good-sized guy. So the latest update from his physique was this vacuum pose, and I think it's noteworthy, and I said this before, not only the fact that he can do a vacuum pose, but how deep he can do a vacuum pose and how good the vacuum pose actually looks on his physique despite being a men's open bodybuilder. This is something that men's open bodybuilding has not really seen in a long time. A competitive top open pro that has a good vacuum pose. It does not happen very often. And for that reason alone, maybe I'm a little bit biased. I want to see him do well because I think he is a fantastic bodybuilder and he can hit a vacuum pose. And I would like to see somebody in the top 3 of an open pro show hit a vacuum pose, even though, it's not a mandatory pose. It's obviously something that not a lot of guys do. It's not necessary, but it's cool to see. And I was just talking to Charles the other day, and he said something that I thought was pretty cool. He thanked me for all the kind words, and he said that every time I mention him in a video, people at his gym come up and say, "Nick put you in a video again." I just thought that was a really cool. It was really cool that people would go up to him and say that. So shout out to Charles. Hopefully someone comes up to you in the gym today and says, "Nick was talking about your vacuum pose again." I think Charles is going to do really well this weekend, though. Now, next up in the news, we've got an update for you guys of Terry Hollands. He's the world's strongest man competitor that switched over to bodybuilding. This is only his second bodybuilding show ever. That competition this weekend was yesterday, or Sunday, actually. He wound up taking second place. I think he looked absolutely incredible here for a guy that is making a transition from a sport where he had a completely different physique in strongman. Like I said, he weighed like 450 pounds or something crazy like that in strongman. He's like 6'6.5", so like almost 6'7" tall. He's gigantic. So for him to look this good at his second bodybuilding show ever, and on top of that, he's a masters competitor. He's over 40. So I think all those factors combined with the package that he brought, I thought was pretty impressive. So the shorter guy on the far right, he's the guy that actually ended up getting first, so he beat Terry. I think overall, even though there's a clear size difference and the shorter guy was a lot smaller than Terry overall, I think he was a little bit more, better balance, better proportion, more filled out for his frame, and that's really what bodybuilding is all about. It's not necessarily always about mass. It's about how properly distributed that mass is. So the shorter guy wound up winning. Terry got second. But I think overall, nothing to be ashamed of. He looked really good here, and I look forward to seeing more from Terry Hollands on bodybuilding stages in the future. And it's always cool to see a guy that was at the top of strongman. Like I said, he was a top 3 world's strongest man competitor. He was no slouch. Make a transition to try to be at the top of another sport. So best of luck to Terry at his next show. Now, the final story that I've got for you guys today, let's talk a little bit about Derek Lunsford switching to open. I know you guys saw my last video about the guest posing in Pittsburgh, and I saw this actually on Quint Beastwood's story. He answered a question. Someone asked him, do you think Derek Lunsford could do well in open, maybe top 5? And Quint answers, and Quint's an IFBB Open pro if you guys don't know who he is. He says, for the past 2 years, I've been thinking he's secretly going to compete in open. He looks like he might be the best in the world right now. And look, I really got to agree. I tried to make this point very strong and very clear in my last video about the guest posing. I think that the guest posing, the main thing that stuck out to me was how good Derek looked in that lineup. Those were the best bodybuilders in the world. Those were top Olympians. A former Mr. Olympia and runner-up at the Olympia this past year, Brandon Curry, Arnold Classic champion. You had Nick Walker, another Arnold Classic champion, top 5 at the Olympia. Hunter Labrada, 4th at the Olympia. Derek Lunsford, a 212 Mr. Olympia, never competed in open. He looked like one of the best guys up there. Just look at this picture of his front double bicep from that guest posing. And again, this was a guest posing. This is off-season Derek. He's got to be every bit of 250 pounds. But again, the same thing I said in those side comparison shots, how good his legs looked. His legs used to be a weak point for him. Look how separated and how big his quads are for an off-season 212 guy that probably weighs over 250 pounds right now. I would bet he weighs like 255. And to be honest, I don't know how he's going to get back down to 212. He looks gigantic. And it's not just Quint Beastwood saying this. I got messages from several different top pros, current and former, saying, wow, Derek just exposed some of these guys. Derek looked incredible at that guest posing, and he made these guys not look so good. I think Derek might be a better bodybuilder than he gets credit for because he won the 212 Olympia, but that's not viewed as like the same caliber. I don't want to say same caliber, but maybe not the same level of competition as Men's Open. The Men's Open is like the biggest and the baddest, while 212 has that weight category. So I think he doesn't get the same credit as somebody like Rami or Brandon gets when they win the Olympia for winning 212. But I honestly think if he competed in the Olympia, I would bet money he would be top 6. And looking at those Pittsburgh Pro guest posing videos, I don't think it's unrealistic that he could be top 3. And that's just how I really feel about it. He looks incredible, and there's no denying it. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Should Derek Lunsford make the switch? If he did make the switch, would it be successful? Make sure you guys like the video if you enjoyed it. The thumbs up button really helps out a lot. Share it, comment, all that good stuff. Subscribe if you have not subscribed already. Click that bell notification icon if you want to be notified every time I upload. As always, guys, I love you. I appreciate you. Nick Strength and Power, signing out.